As a child, I was always drawing, a lot of drawing, always making things out of paper, out of wood. I was building tree houses in the garden. So I was always, creative spirit, I guess. I used to have a little sailing boat. So I used to do a wooden sailing boat, and I used to do a lot of sailing. And obviously, in my inexperience, I used to occasionally damage the boat. I think when I once went to a boat builder, and I saw them making a new boat, a timber boat, and I just thought, wow, this is incredible. And I didn't really understand it was design. I mean, it was more sort of craftsmanship, but I think that was the moment where I thought I might like to do something in terms of design. I had two brothers, and so the three of us, we always got into a little bit of trouble. We just wanted to investigate things, explore, and push the boundaries. If you're not curious, you're not a designer. I think that the thing that drives me in my career as a designer is being inquisitive. It's observing what's going on around you, looking at the way that people are behaving, the natural kind of behavioral patterns, whether it's in the workplace or in the home or in hospitality. And those are the things that inform you about your next objects to design, because we in our studio are not stylists, we are designers. So it's really about finding new ways, innovating. I've had a business with Jay Osgerby, my business partner, where we met at the Royal College of Art. Both of us have always wanted to do everything. So we studied architecture, we also studied design. We ended up having an architecture practice, an industrial design practice, and also a practice that works in technology. And we have kind of designed, not everything, but we hope to at some point, furniture and lighting and taps and coins, and we designed the torch for the Olympic Games. We've designed retail, we've designed hotels, houses. So the first project we did together was a bar restaurant in South Kensington in London. And it was a project where we had been given this opportunity, and we slightly pretended that we knew what we were doing, but we didn't. But we thought we could probably get through it. It was a brilliant way to understand how to work with a client. We made a lot of mistakes, but the end result was very, very popular, and it was there for at least 15 years. And it was the project that all of our other work came from. In fact, that particular bar we designed a piece of furniture called the loop table for that bar, and that table then went on to be the starting point for most of our furniture. It was the first piece that went into production, and that was the point at which we realized we wanted to do furniture as well. This was before, believe it or not, before the internet. All the photography was on film and wasn't digital at all. So we had to get it photographed, and we sent out lots of different, we used to send out a transparency, which is a piece of film, to all the magazines. And Wallpaper magazine, which was in its first issue, I think at the time, said, oh, we really like this. They published it. And then we ended up designing a stand for Wallpaper magazine in the London Design Fair. And the table was in the middle of the stand, and Giulio Cappellini, the owner of Cappellini, was walking around, and he saw the table there, and he said, right, I want to produce this. So for us, that was a pretty pivotal moment in our career, because Cappellini, especially in those days, was the sort of top European furniture manufacturer. And so when he made that decision that he wanted to produce our design, that really elevated us very, very quickly in that world. As a designer, yeah, you have to be a risk taker, I think, because if you're going to truly innovate, you have to take a risk. But as a designer, you're not just the only person that takes the risk. Your manufacturer also has to take the risk as well. I think the designs that have really stood the test of time, if you look back at all the classic designs that are still on sale today that maybe were designed in the 50s or 60s or 70s, all of those best sellers, the iconic pieces, have always been a real challenge when they've been launched on the market. Now, I'm talking about the Arco lamp from Floss, the one with the big arm that puts the lamp in the center of the table. I'm talking about a Eames aluminium group office chair which you see in this hotel today. So this is a brand new hotel, ultra modern hotel. They're still using a chair from the 50s because it is so revolutionary. So we don't typically, well, hopefully ever, follow a sort of trend that's happening in the industry. We try to avoid that at all costs, and we design things on their own merit. So the most important thing is to have a strong idea concept at the beginning. If you do that, you're going to design something that's probably going to last for a very long time. Well, it's always about solving a problem. I mean, that's what design is for us, is solving problems. And ideally, you're solving problems that maybe people haven't even realized that they had. I mean, that's a really good design. I think if we look at Axor 1, it's quite a good example. We were looking for some new innovation, and the idea was that to have ultimate control of the water, you need something that's more precise than just a tap that you twist on and off. We wanted something that with one touch you could actually switch on the water and turn it off. And a lot of companies were moving into electronics to control the water. And that was the discussion we had with Axor, and we were not that comfortable with using electronics in the water, and neither were Axor. So we went for a more conventional, physical on-off sort of click thing. So this was something that was quite new. The thing that was really new about Axor 1, the control, was the fact that we'd started to combine lots of the different controls. So in a bigger bathroom, you have lots of different controls, from a hand shower, you might have body jets, overhead shower, and other things as well. And if it's near the bath, you might have also the bath control. So you have a lot of different things on the wall, and we wanted to reduce all of those and simplify it into one object. So that, when you look at the final object, is actually a really simple piece of design. It doesn't look like it's doing all the things that it does. And I think that is the really secret of a good innovative design, is that it has a familiarity about it. Not that it looks familiar to anything else that's in the bathroom, but it doesn't look so strange that it would put you off buying it or using it. I think form and aesthetics is a very, very strong part of the final object. An object has to have a beauty to it, and it also has to have a personality and a character, and that's really that's the most difficult thing, I think, in a way, is that you can have an object that's, I mean, you can have a chair, for example, that's all the things that you want to check off the list, but it might be just a bit ugly, or it just doesn't have a character. And then you failed as a designer, because you have to have everything in the mix for it to be a successful product. If you make something really, really well, and you don't design something that's to fit with a current trend, you have a good chance that that product will last a very long time. And that, in its sense, is the most sustainable thing you can do. Jay and I always want to work with the top company in whatever sector we're involved in. And for us, Axor was always the top, and we wanted to work for Axor. Started talking about a project in about 2012-13, and we actually launched our first product in 2015. As a designer, it feels very exclusive. All our manufacturers have engineers that we work closely with, but none more brilliant than Axor. We kind of knew what we wanted to do, and it was very easy to explain. You know, you switch the water on and off like this, but there wasn't actually a mechanism that was actually available at the time. So they had to design it, but that was a great challenge for them, and they love all the way through the project. Whenever there's a challenge, they relish that challenge, and we've got a great working relationship with them. Customization is one of the bigger factors for the end user, obviously, because when you look at Axor 1, you know, if you look at it in matte black and then you look at it in polished rose gold, it looks like a different product. You know, we've got a bright red, we've got pink, we've got blue, we've got quite a range of different colors that can suit many, many different styles of bathroom, different finishes that they can work with. And the great thing about color is that you can play with sort of trends, you know, because color will always, it's a circular thing. Jay and I met at college. We then started working out of my apartment in London. We then employed one young designer because we didn't have a lot of money to employ. So it wasn't until we employed probably the fifth person, where they'd already worked for a couple of different businesses, and they came in and said, no, you don't do it like this, you have to do it like this. And then we started to understand. We're quite similar on the sense of humor side of things. We both had two brothers growing up, so we're kind of part of a gang. We're coming from a very similar family dynamic, but we're quite different as well. I mean, Jay's he's very good on the business side of things. He really enjoys that side of it. I'm more focused probably on the detail and the design, but together we're both very focused on trying to innovate, trying to find new ideas, experiment, and that's why we've ended up doing so many different types of design, where ideas are always clashing, and that's why it works so well. It's the fact that we have these differences of opinion that I think creates a stronger design at the end. And that's the thing about design, which is different from a writer or an artist, where you can actually do it on your own. You don't have to involve anyone else. With a designer, you have to involve a manufacturer. And so it's always a dialogue anyway. We don't like things to be too straight and too tidy because it doesn't work well for our creativity. So we have different areas. We have like a woodwork shop, and we have an area where we make cardboard models, and then we have a sewing area, and obviously we have an area where people work on the computer, but we encourage people not to spend much time on the computer, so people are basically making things all day long. And then we just move from one area to the next. It's a very creative space, and it's got a lot of energy, and there's music playing, and yeah, I guess in a way it probably feels quite young. It's a bit like a college environment, honestly. I mean, that's sort of the way we want to keep it as well.